Michael Mann's Collateral from 2004, starring Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. It's not a true 4K, as most of it was only shot in HD video, but it's such a good film, does it really matter? We'll see. Collateral is another one of those 4K video discs that when it came out, people on this channel pestered me to take a look at it. I did purchase it years ago, but I didn't feel ready to review it then, owing to it largely being HD video. But there is about 10 to 15% of this that was shot Super 35, and boy do those sequences stand out. Just take a look at the jazz club sequence to see what I mean, and also for that matter the very opening. But Michael Mann wanted to use HD video because he felt, and he was probably right, that the video origin would be better at picking up the LA landscape at night, and it does seem to work in that regard. So even though it's a bit colourless and a bit wishy-washy, those sequences, they do work because you can see everything that's going on outside the cab where it's largely shot. But it's such a good film that I find that it hangs together even though you've largely got this lackluster imagery on screen. Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx are brilliant together, and because it all plays out in that single night, it's got this wonderful atmosphere, and it's similar in a way, I suppose, to Walter Hill's 48 Hours and The Warriors, and the music plays an important part in both of those films, and it's a major factor in the success of Collateral. Actually, Martin Scorsese's After Hours is another one that I've seen in recent years that is similar in some ways to Collateral. Collateral had an estimated budget of $65 million and it grossed at the worldwide box office $220 million. It has an aspect ratio of 2.40 to 1, comes with DTS HD 5.1 sound and has a running time of approximately 2 hours. Some of the 35mm shots do look a little grainy, but they look so much better than the majority video shots in this movie. Now to me, the low light video, it does look like video noise, but there was a negative produced, of course, which was used to create the 35mm anamorphic release prints. Now this was a 2K video master transposed over to the negative, and could it be that something's been lost or introduced in that process, and what looked fine as HD video as video, then when it's gone over to the negative stock has introduced a bit of a noisy film grain appearance to that video. But whatever, the 35mm shots still look superior to all those dark video shots, but I think there are a few video shots in this in bright light that do look fine. Not as good as what I think of the 35mm, but you wouldn't actually notice them without perhaps looking for them. Now overall, the video in this is colourless. There's not much colour in it, and that really is what makes the 35mm stand out, and those video sequences in bright light. I think that's to be expected and something you just have to be ready for if you do purchase this 4K disc or indeed the Blu-ray. The sound on this, the DTS HD 5.1 sound, I found it impressive all the way through, but where it really stands out I think is around 3/4 of the way through the movie. They go into a nightclub called Fever and you've got the music enveloping you, and then shortly after the gunshots start. And don't have your sound system up too loud because my wife nearly got knocked out of her seat at one point with these. It really does, well, it just takes your breath away if you've got it too loud. So might be a good idea to turn it down a little when they get to this nightclub scene, but if you haven't got it too loud, if you've got it set correctly and this comes in, it's an impressive example of how good sound can be in the home. You do get a Blu-ray and the 4K in this pack. The extras are on the Blu-ray. I think there's a commentary on the 4K as well, but all the extras on this Blu-ray I believe are also on the previous DVD release, and they're worth watching. This is an interesting film to see how it was made, very informative extras, and it's sort of good education to see how someone like Michael Mann does make some of his movies. Watching those again yesterday, it did make me think, I wonder if his experience making Heat, where he tried to shoot that in such low light using film, made him decide to use video for Collateral. It's possible because there's one sequence in particular in Heat that everyone cites as being too dark on 4K, but as I pointed out in my review, I could remember that in the cinema. Robert De Niro goes into a doorway in the dark while his colleagues are casing the joint next door. He's a lookout and you just can't see him at all, where you couldn't see it at the cinema. And unfortunately for all of us, I had a couple of projectionists confirm that they had exactly the same experience when they projected the film in their cinemas. And one projectionist, I pinned his comment to the top, he said that he even took the film off, put it on a projector in another studio to check it wasn't the lamp going in that projector. So I do wonder if that experience is what led Michael Mann to decide to use HD video on Collateral. Now, I did think that when I decided to finally do this video review, I will be standing here recommending the DVD of Collateral because the origins of it aren't exactly that spectacular. But having watched this quite extensively yesterday on my telly, I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be standing here saying, don't waste your money, get the DVD. Well, as it turns out, I then put it on in here, and then watched the 4K, I put the Blu-ray on, I then went to the DVD, and I thought, well, the Blu-ray actually looks rather impressive. Maybe that's the one to recommend, although the colours on it aren't as good as they are on the 4K. And this one, even though it's good because of the origins being so low quality for much of it, I thought it's good, but after you've seen the Blu-ray and the 4K, forget it, you know. But that's what happens when you actually sit down and scrutinise these things. So as much as I was on paper disappointed that anyone would shoot a high quality movie like this using HD video, as it turns out, I'm wrong. I think the 4K on this is probably the way to go, but the Blu-ray is good enough. Now, this was a film that was done just as we were well into the sort of period of, well, the image quality in cinemas was not what it once was in the 90s, and that started to tail off towards the end of the 90s. And I went to see Miami Vice in 2006, and it was another one of those cinema visits to one of our top cinemas in the West End of London, the Empire, my favourite cinema. And I was sat there thinking, what has happened to the image quality? And it was just one of those times. The downturn in image quality had noticeably started towards the end of the 90s, and it had progressed. And I was getting some stories from people in the industry as to what was happening. And it involved the labs that were being used and how it was being cheapened. But in more recent years, people in the industry have told me, and please add to this if you've got any definite information, leave a comment down below, that we've been being prepared for what was known as the big switchover. This occurred in 2011 or thereabouts for some cinemas, whereby the switch was made from using film prints to video projection, digital video projection. And we were being prepared for that, so people who were cinema goers wouldn't notice the downgrade in image quality when we did have the final switchover, or finally have the switchover. I'm not sure how true that is, but it does seem to concur with my experience. So in 2006, I really curtailed my cinema going, and since then, well, I did a few more visits where I saw video projection, but since then I've really limited myself to when I know a film print is being screened, and so that's why largely my IMAX 1570 visits have been the most prolific. So that was my experience of what went on at the time. Miami Vice was probably not the best example of a movie to see in the cinema, even though I did enjoy it as a movie, and I did think about getting the DVD to actually see if I could enjoy it more without fretting over the image quality, but I never did. I've steered clear of it ever since. But having learned more about Collateral, why it was filmed that way, understanding how it looks, and actually rather liking it in here video projected on my 10-foot wide screen, I think maybe I will be able to give Miami Vice another go sometime soon. So my recommendation, as I said, is the 4K of Collateral, irrespective of its 2K origins. Well, even less than that originally, if you think about it. But if you've got the DVD, this is actually very good for what it is, for what Collateral is, but the 35mm sequences aren't as impressive on this as they are on the 4K or indeed the Blu-ray. So I think that brings me to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and perhaps consider subscribing so I'll be encouraged to carry on creating content like this. Until the next video, bye bye for now.